Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are going to cut right through all the noise surrounding cybersecurity. Our goal? To give business leaders like you a really clear guide on where to put your money. We're going to turn all that complex technical jargon into some straightforward strategic decisions.
Okay, let's just dive right in, shall we? This is the one question every single leader needs to be asking themselves. Because, let's be honest, the world of digital threats is way more dangerous than it's ever been. A simple firewall and some antivirus software, that just doesn't cut it anymore, not even close.
So, before you can even think about building a strong defense, you have got to understand the attack. I want you to think of your business as a kind of fortress, one that's being tested on 4 major fronts all at the same time. And this slide really just lays out the entire battlefield. You're being squeezed by these super strict compliance demands, while every new system you add, well, that creates a potential new weak spot. And all the while, the attackers are getting smarter, and your own outdated tech might just be your biggest enemy. It's a constant multi-front war. Okay, now that we've kind of mapped out the threats, let's look at the essential tools you need in your defensive toolkit. Now, these aren't just separate products you can buy. No, these are your 5 core investment directions for building a truly resilient fortress against all those attacks we just talked about. So first up is compliance and management. Think of this as the architectural blueprint, the building codes for your security structure. It's all about creating standardized, repeatable processes to make sure everything you build is solid, up to code, and reduces your overall risk. Now, this slide really shows the critical trade-off with compliance. It's absolutely essential, right? It builds your foundation. It keeps the legal teams happy. But, and this is a big but, don't mistake it for some kind of magic shield. It's a process, not a piece of tech. That means it's your crucial first step, but it is not going to stop a determined attacker all by itself. All right, next up, scanning and pen testing. So, if compliance is your blueprint, think of this as your 24/7 security patrol. You are actively looking for cracks in the walls and weak points in the gates before the enemy gets a chance to find them. The huge benefit here is just pure efficiency. This gives you a continuous health check on your systems and a clear, prioritized list of what to fix. But, and you have to keep this in mind, here's the crucial limitation. Scanning can only find the dangers it already knows about. It's just not prepared for a brand new, unexpected kind of attack. And that brings us perfectly to red team exercises, which take this whole thing a step further. We're not talking about just an inspection anymore. This is a full-blown live fire drill. You're basically simulating a real enemy invasion to see how your tech, your processes, and most importantly, your people hold up under actual pressure. The real value here is that it tests everything all at once. It's not about whether your firewall works in a vacuum. It's about whether your entire organization works when things get real. How do teams communicate? How do leaders make decisions under fire? It reveals whether your people are a vulnerability or your strongest line of defense. This 4th defense is all about strategy. It moves the conversation away from all the technical jargon and into the language of the boardroom, money, risk, and reputation. It's about asking, okay, if we get breached, how much could this actually cost us? See, this kind of visualization makes that risk tangible. You can walk into any boardroom with this and show exactly how a technical problem translates into real-world pain, direct financial loss, massive compliance fines, and of course, that lasting damage to your brand. And finally, we have to talk about technical debt. Those old, crumbling systems that are lurking in the background. System upgrades are about strategically replacing that aging infrastructure with modern, more defensible technology before it fails you, catastrophically. But look, this isn't about ripping and replacing everything all at once. That's a nightmare. No, it's a methodical 4-step process. You assess what you have, you prioritize what's most critical, you execute the upgrades in manageable stages, and then you maintain the new systems. This is so crucial for complex industries, like high-tech manufacturing. Okay. So you have your toolkit of 5 powerful defenses. Fantastic! But let's be realistic. You can't do everything at once. So, how do you choose? How do you create a practical plan of action that actually works? Well, if your resources are tight, the source material suggests this very clear priority list. Start with a red team exercise. Find out what your biggest real-world weaknesses are. Then protect your crown jewels with targeted scanning. And finally, build that sustainable management process with compliance tools.
This timeline gives you a really practical roadmap. And the key here is that it's a phased approach. You start with discovery in that first quarter. You build your framework in the second, and then you can move to strategic analysis and long-term modernization. It is a marathon, not a sprint. A plan, of course, is only as good as its execution, and the source material really emphasizes that long-term success boils down to 3 key commitments. Let's walk through them. First, and honestly, most importantly, C-level support. And I'm not just talking about approval. I mean active championship from the very top. Without a clear commitment, a real budget, and genuine buy-in from leadership, even the best technical plan is just destined to fail. Second, true cross-department collaboration. Security cannot live in an IT silo anymore. It just can't. It demands seamless teamwork between your tech experts, your business units, the people actually using the technology, and your legal teams who understand the risks. Everyone has a critical role to play here. And number 3, continuous investment. This is not a project you can just check off a list and forget about. The threat landscape is constantly changing, which means your defense has to be a living, breathing part of your business, with sustained focus and resources year after year. So, by understanding the threats, by strategically combining these core defenses, and by committing to those keys to success, you can finally move from being reactive to having a truly resilient security posture. The question isn't if you should act anymore, it's where are you going to begin?